If you're an Amazon seller wanting to expand your team and hire top tier talent, management level talent, as well as get A-level players on the lower side of your team, then you gotta keep watching this video because I'm about to be chatting with Josh Hadley, and he's gonna be sharing some golden nuggets on how to find and recruit and overall onboard top tier talent. So let's go ahead and jump right into it, starting with what is the first tip that you would give e-commerce sellers out there that are watching how to find and recruit top tier talent?
Yeah, one of the first things that you need to see this is just like in sales where it's a numbers game. You've got to knock on 1,000 doors to get 1 or 2 solid yeses, right? The same principle applies when it comes to recruiting top tier talent. So what we do is whenever we post a job, we don't just post a job and pray, it's not the build it and they will come methodology. It is post the job and then actively recruit for that job. That means you're running LinkedIn ads. That's low level. Okay, I'm trying to get the word out. So run some ads. But then secondly, you're going to have a team member that is going out and on Upwork, on onlinejobs.ph, on JobRack, work.ua. You're going to have somebody that's literally going out. They can search for that position that you're trying to hire for, and then they click the invite button. Invite. We typically invite thousands of people to apply to any of our positions. So that's step number 1.
Gotcha. Okay. Now it sounds like you are totally cool with international talent. So what would you say like those top 2 countries that you find yourself finding great talent in?
Yeah, we find great talent all over the world. And frankly speaking, I'll share in the next steps 2 and 3. It doesn't matter where these people are located. However, as long as they get through all of the hoops that we ask them to jump through, we know that they're going to be worth their stuff. So some of our team we have in Mexico, we have a good number of our team members in the Philippines and in Canada. Really, it's kind of like wherever they fall. But we do love, having a virtual environment and being able to hire good talent throughout the world. Doesn't matter where they're from.
Yeah, and I agree with that. The Philippines has been great. I love the people in the Philippines. They're so nice. The only downside that I personally have with the Philippines is the time zone. I hate that they're like on the other side and like they're so far ahead. And so many times I have to ask them, hey, are you willing to work the graveyard shift? Basically, are you willing to do your shift overnight on your time zone so that we can have some back and forth communication? What is your thoughts on having them work from 10 p.m. to 5 a.m. their time?
Yeah, exactly. So each role is a little bit different. But we don't specify like the exact hours they have to work, but we tell them like, hey, during US business hours, if we have a team meeting, you're going to be expected to be there. So we still allow them to set their own hours. Every role is different, right? Because some of them are maybe speaking with our manufacturers. And if we have US based manufacturers, they need to be speaking with them during those work hours, right? So every role, it depends.
Yeah, makes sense. All right, let's jump into the second tip. What would you say that is?
So tip number 2 is as soon as people apply, rather than looking at their resume, looking at their background, where they last worked or how much they're charging, don't worry about any of that crap. The first thing you're going to do is automatically reply to people and say, hey, I like your experience. Doesn't matter what their experience is. I love your experience. Can you please complete this assessment? Now, the assessment tool that we use is called criteriacorp.com. Okay. This is a tool that we found where normally you have to pay per applicant that ever takes like a job personality assessment or anything like that. This one is just kind of a one-time flat rate. But what you're going to do is they complete this assessment, and in this assessment, yes, it will give them, their personality profile, but it's going to give them kind of like it's called their cognitive criteria aptitude. And so long story short, it's basically an IQ test. And so you're going to know how well they speak English, how well they do math. And the higher the score, the higher the likelihood that they are going to be good talent. So we weed anybody out that doesn't meet like the 50th, 60th percentile or above. And so from there, if we have 1,000 people apply, we're going to weed out probably 90% of the applicants overnight just by having them complete that assessment. Nobody's had to take the time to review resumes. We're not looking at their job rate, their history, or anything like that. Literally, we're just looking at like hard skills at this point.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, for the viewer, if you're trying to do this more on a budget, I would say go and find those questions from these personality tests and things like that. Create a Google form, and then you can, yes, it's not going to boil down all the answers into like a 1 through 10 score for you, but you can at least look through all the answers and you can have somewhat of a pretty reasonable set of answers to base your judgments off of. And it's going to be free because Google Forms is awesome. So just a little tip there. Josh, let's go ahead and jump into tip number 3.
Yeah. For tip number 3, what you're going to do is anybody that passes that first assessment, you're then going to ask them to complete a test project. Okay. Now this is an unpaid test project. So let's clear the air here. A lot of people have these myths. It's like, oh, how dare you take advantage of people asking them to do a test project for free? False. And I'll say this, if the top Fortune 500, 100 companies are doing this, why are you not doing it? When straight out of college, I worked at American Airlines. Guess what they asked me to do as part of the recruitment process? Complete a test project. Did they pay me for it? No, they did not pay me for it. Did I feel ashamed or feel like, how dare they ask me to complete this Excel file and send it back to them by the due date? No, I didn't. I wanted the job. So let's dispel the myth that you have to pay these people to have them complete these test projects. So next, you're going to give them a hypothetical scenario that actually needs to be completed in that job. If you're trying to hire a supply chain manager, that's exactly what you're going to do in that test project. Come up with actual scenarios of what it is you're working on for supply chain. Say, hey, got 5 SKUs. I've got X amount of inventory for each of these different SKUs. Here's the sales velocity. Here's how much I have in the warehouse. Here's the lead time from my manufacturer. Here's the price breaks. Tell me which products I should order now. And if I'm not ordering now, when should be the next point that I order and how many units I should be ordering at one time. And when they come back with that test project, I have them record a little 5-minute Loom video that's walking me through like their thought process. How did they get to the answer that they got to? And ultimately, you want to find somebody that you're like, I love this way this person worked. And in fact, they did it even better than I thought I could have done this. That's when you know you have good talent on your hands, when they actually do something you never even considered.
I like that. And I think 2 things come to mind. So one, if the salary is high enough and worth it, then yes, I think you're going to get a lot of people that, your conversion rate on that test project is going to be large. The second thing is when you make it clear to the worker that this is a complete BS project, like this isn't going to be used, like their results and their information is not going to actually be used. So I think they're more willing to do something because they're like, okay, I'm not just giving you free work that you can actually use in your business. It's like, it's completely hypothetical and made up. So I think they're more willing to do that when it's not like a real life scenario that you're going to actually benefit from.
And again, if somebody's not willing to do that, then that's fine. We'll go find somebody else. But typically A-level talent is willing to go above and beyond the call of duty to make it happen. Guess what this weeds out? A lot of the tire kickers that are just looking for the next job that they are going to be at for 3 months and move on to something else. You're going to get people who care and that are going to show up.
Awesome. Now, last question for you before we wrap this up. Is this only for management level talent, like the higher salaried people, or is this for the low level people, the middle level, the high level? Like who exactly goes through all these hoops?
Anybody that joins our organization, all the way from, somebody that just wants to be a virtual assistant, they go through this exact same process just as much as like a supply chain manager, upper level manager is going to go through. Now, I'm going to expect a lot more, and I'll give more in my test project for upper level management. But they all go through the exact same process. And that's how we've been able to build a really strong culture within our business. And in my opinion, one of the best assets that you have as any business owner is going to be your team. That is one of the biggest competitive advantages. Why do Fortune 500 companies compete so hard against the same top talent. And why do they go poach talent? Because they know that top level talent makes all the difference in the business. It's not how smart the business owner is. I want to surround myself with people that think at a totally different level than I do, that can point out my weaknesses and can grow my brand in different ways that I never even could have considered.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much, Josh, for jumping on this video, sharing some information and some good knowledge that I think people can definitely benefit from. If people want to get in touch with you or drink more of your Kool-Aid, where can they go?
Yeah, so I have a podcast called Ecom Breakthrough. It's ecom with 2 M's. And in this podcast, I share strategies to help 7-figure e-commerce business owners scale to 8 figures and beyond. So what I'm known for is in that podcast, I sum up every episode with 3 actionable takeaways that you can implement in your business now to get closer to that 8-figure brand.
Well, thanks so much, Josh, for jumping on this again. Real quick, if you guys don't know who I am, my name is Ian Smith with Evolve Media, and we create photo, video, and written content for Amazon sellers. All that content, the photo, the videos, everything you see on the listing, the brand story section, the storefront, we create all of that. And our main goal with our content is to increase conversion rates and increase click-through rates with the main image. So we found that when you have a high conversion rate, your PPC ads perform better, your organic ranking performs better, and overall you're more profitable as a business. So if you want to get access to our free Amazon listing checklist, our product launch guide, and our organic ranking roadmap guide, then head over to amzchecklist.com. And if you want to book a free consulting call with me, then go to emaamz.com. Thanks so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.